Here's Walter. Walter puts it up and in! Jacoby Walter, the rookie from Baylor, delivers a three with .5 to go. Jacoby with a moment in the NBA.
If you watch the fourth quarter of Raptors Magic Tuesday night and we're wondering, what the hell is that? You are not alone. This is Basketball Island. Hein, Hambone, Wes, Fab, with fancy new digs. Look at the screen.
Yeah, we up in here.
I'm afraid to touch it. We try to do the Kawhi hand with it. I'm afraid to touch the screen.
don't touch it.
We'll probably get in trouble.
I really like the floaty palm tree.
They actually made us sign something.
Yeah, not allowed to touch the screen. But we have to just dive into Tuesday night, Raps Magic, fourth quarter, because, and you said this in our group chat, that is the most brazen, in-your-face tank attempt I have ever seen. Like, in my life, watching basketball in a game.
I respected it. Big Daddy Kane, man, ain't no half-stepping. If you're going to do this, do it. Fab and I got in an argument. Fab's like, you should have done it earlier if you're going to do it. I think that's viable.
If you're going to do it even more
Go
than
hard.
that. Yeah.
But in game like that, though, especially, we're the beginning of March, and usually it's like you just sit guys out. But that was flat out, and we're going to get into all of this, but like, let's start with the timeline. Okay, so you're up on the Magic pretty much all game. 8-9 minute mark, Scotty Barnes comes out.
Yeah.
Rest of the starters come out between then and say the 5 minute mark.
Yeah.
And then at that point, it's RJ and Scrubs, and RJ is ripping it, but RJ was doing too much. It's like, you know what, RJ? Get the hell out of here. Two minute mark, RJ's out. So then you're looking at what? Two guys on two ways.
Two rookies.
Yeah,
Orlando Robinson.
Yes. That was just converted from a two-way, right? So I was shocked. I think the panel that you produced, Kia Nurse had an interesting perspective.
Yep.
Leo Routins had another interesting perspective. Like, what the hell was that?
So it's very interesting, right? So I think let's pull back here. Management clearly has a mandate. So I think, they're doing the right thing, in my opinion. They're doing the thing that they always try and do, which is just thread the needle. They're trying to thread the needle. Oh, we don't want to upset our players, which is what Kia was mad about in the panel hit. But also do the thing. Lose games to get a higher draft pick. It's half-stepping is what it is.
Absolutely.
If you're going to do it, if you want to lose games, sit these out. Sit Barnes. Pull a little more strings. They're trying to build that chemistry while also simultaneously losing games. And that game against Orlando was a classic case of that biting them in the ass.
Yeah, I mean, the very first thing I want to say is you can't put any of the blame on the players that were benched or the players that came in and hit all those shots.
Yeah.
You can't ask them to do anything else but to go out there and to compete. So none of this falls on them. Like you said, right after the trade deadline, Bobby Webster made it crystal clear our number one priority is the draft. Well, they're doing a very poor job managing that priority right now, trying to half-step it, like you said. It's one or the other, and this is the same problems that throughout the last few years that fans have upset with the franchise about, like, trying to lay it in the middle, not picking a side, and this is just another example of them doing that one more time.
The veil of the ethical tank has been ripped off.
This is unethical.
It is stuffed in the garbage. It's lit on fire. It's now time to get your hands dirty, okay? Against the Magic, they should have gone even harder because don't wait until 2 minutes left and you have a chance to win. You should have pulled everybody earlier if that's what you're going to do. Don't do it half-ass. Either fully lean into it or don't do it. So I appreciate that the players want to win and they're playing hard. That's great. I don't care. What's best for the team is to get a good draft pick. It's not for you guys to put up numbers right now.
And Kia and I kind of went back and forth before that hit because I'm like, I understand that players have a stake in this, right? Like RJ Barrett wants to keep padding his stats late. I get that, right? I get that there's young guys coming into your point, Wes.
Have to do it.
They got to prove themselves. AJ Lawson coming in, banging threes late. Like, that's a great feel-good move. Jacoby Walter, great job, best job of his career. But the franchise remains here and players come and go. And it's like, it just feels like I understand where she's coming from as someone who went through that with the Los Angeles Sparks and WNBA. She gets traded there and she's watching all these young players get playing time where her, and she's trying to figure out the next step in her career, right? Like, it's a very understandable point. Sure. But we have a vested interest in the Toronto Raptors, and I think management also has a vested interest in the Toronto Raptors.
Well, it's funny you say management because this is going to come to my question, and you see this in baseball where you hear going into a game, a pitcher's only going a certain amount of innings, and it's the GM who is making those decisions. Is management making decisions for Darko, saying this needs to happen in game though? But like,
Yes.
that and
A mandate was clearly set, and it trickled down, and Darko did what he was supposed to do
so.
at that moment.
But now, first of all, it's early March. I've never seen something like this within the confines of a game where it's like normally people aren't so out in the open about it, and you just sit guys. Like knee tendonitis. Everyone's got knee tendonitis.
So
Sit 'em
here's
out.
the thing. So you're absolutely right. In game, it's so visible like that.
Yeah.
It's
I've
pretty
never seen anything like that before.
Brazen, very brazen. I think it's a huge mistake on the front office to try to thread it that way. Because here's my point to everybody out there saying, "Oh, this is why the ratings are down for the NBA. And this is blasphemous. Like this is why people don't." Guess what? How about the Utah Jazz sitting Lauri Markkanen like 4 out of the last 11 games? Walker Kessler sitting up with what? Lower back tightness, general soreness, our favorite general, right? Like, they just sit these guys flat out. No one's giving them any so they're just not even having you guys plays at all. The Raptors, for whatever reason, feel the need to get their starters out there getting minute restriction reps. That's the mistake. But the reality is, if you're really looking at this with an open eye lens, objectively speaking, sitting guys out for maybe a few minutes left to go in the game versus the entire game, they're the same thing. So you can't say, oh, what the Raptors are doing right now is like so bad for the game. What about every other team that's sitting their core players and having 5 bench guys come out, play the entire 36?
So, and that's what it is. The Raptors are essentially saying the quiet part out loud. And I think
So
that's why
their mistake.
I think that's why people are so shocked. To your point of the people who are saying this is what's wrong with the NBA, those are the people who don't like the NBA anyways and are going to say that
and that's
regardless. But also, I feel like you've been dealing with lower back tightness for the last 2 years of podcasts. You haven't missed one.
Bad hips. So the Raptors essentially hired a hitman, but got the hitman to wear orange. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, I'm gonna be covert, but you're dressed in like 3M Innovation garb. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, if you're gonna do it, do it.
That's what I'm saying.
I understand the optics look worse when it happens mid-game. It's just odd. It's something we haven't really seen happen
It's
that
an
brazen.
unnecessary target that you're placing on your back.
But to your point, it's no worse than what other teams are doing. They're just deciding not to play their guys at all. So the Raptors, once again, trying to thread this needle. So if you're doing that, do it better, Darko.
Yes.
So say, you know what? All of you guys are playing 3 quarters. And then in the 4th, no one's playing. But why wait till 2 minutes left to take RJ out when the game is in the balance? Like, the timing is odd. So that part, I kind of question.
My point is this. You're going to do it. Player doesn't play the entire game. Just, that's it. Do what every other team that you're seeing at the bottom of the standings do. You don't half-ass it, do it in the middle of the game, and you expose yourself to a terrible like PR situation.
And then that's my next question. Was it so brazen and over the top that the NBA might have to say something about this? And our lovely sponsor, FanDuel, behind us, now that betting is involved, if you're someone who, say, had someone's props or something and you see an obvious tanking part of this, everything is really much cloudier now because of gambling and because of how over the top they are. Like, does the league say something?
Let me get into the gambling part first. You can go into the league part. You have the option to bet over or under. So that is right out of the gate, not my problem. You have the choice. So you cannot rope in gambling.
Coming from a guy who smashes his under season hard right now.
You cannot use gambling as a way to be like, oh, now you can't do this. This is bad for the game. About the NBA component of it, let's get into that. But gambling part is your choice. You don't have to bet overs. That's your call.
If you're putting your money down, do the work.
Okay?
All right.
That's
Like,
your
you
call.
can't just cry out into the clouds about like a bet losing. Like, no. You're putting actual hard-earned money down that you earned. Look at what's been happening with the Raptors. Look at their mandate, and then make your bets accordingly. So I completely
Okay, but
agree.
sorry. Let me just quickly counter to that. What if you are someone who's putting in the work and you're hammering unders on these things, and now you're the gambling companies, and it's like, well, wait a minute. You know what I mean? I'm just saying the betting element just sort of clouds it. But go into the league for us.
I'm a people person first. I care about the people making money, with all due respect. But like, that's what we're doing here. We're trying to help.
So what about the league? Is this something the league should investigate?
No.
I think I don't think so.
A coach can play whoever they want.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you going to say? You shouldn't have played those guys?
Like the Mavericks did something similar when they tanked for Derek Lively, and it ended up
Which worked
actually
out being the right thing, right?
A really good thing. It actually ended up working out very well for them. I just think that the way the Raptors chose to do it this time is you're just painting a target on your back for what is no reason, right?
Yeah.
No one's gonna bat an eye if Scotty Barnes sits out with hip
course.
soreness before the game. And I think the bigger picture thing with the Raptors in particular that's kind of like annoying with this is that in training camp, Jakob Poeltl came out and acknowledged that this season was going to be a rebuild. And then, months go by, Raptors get hurt. Scotty Barnes recently says, no, we want to win games. So you're juggling the players and management and the betterment of the franchise going forward. It's hard to do, right? Because these guys are healthy and they want to play and they want to win and they want to build chemistry together. So you're juggling that aspect. I think you just need more defined buy-in from everyone, like Jakob Poeltl, like who came in, knows what this season's going to be. Explain it to the guys. Be like, this is what's necessary. And just start pulling guys. Like you said, man,
But even though
these guys out.
Jacoby Walter hits that shot, you saw how excited everybody was for him, and the players are going to be like that. Yeah.
Listen, again, nothing's given in this league. Jacoby Walter could be technically out of the league next year. AJ Lawson wasn't even drafted. You know what I'm saying by that?
And the AJ Lawson game, love to
he
see
has
it.
every right. He has every right to try to make a name for himself. To me, it's a difference between methodology and purpose. Everyone's doing the same thing. Everyone's trying to achieve the same goal at the bottom of the standings here. The Raptors' methodology, just very ugly methodology. They need to be smarter about how they do it. Just like every other team, they've now, again, put themselves in a position now they're going to be scrutinized when they really shouldn't have had to do this. You should have just sat at least one of these guys out for this game.
Yeah. But see, I don't mind them playing. I just think, just decide we're not going to play you past a certain point. So we're not going to win these games. You want to play 3 quarters? Great. But don't let everyone play into the fourth in this tight game. Like, if Barrett's on the court with 2 minutes left, just let him finish the game at that point, right? Like,
he was playing too good, though.
That's what
he was.
but he's out there.
Then I would say I don't mind these guys playing and building chemistry. It seems like the culture is in a good place right now with how they're competing. But just say, listen, guys, when the fourth comes or late in the third, you guys are all out.
Well,
and that's it. We don't care about winning the game.
Well, here's the problem now. Let's bring up the standings. They currently are the bottom standings, 5th worst record in the NBA, but that Franz Wagner missed layup from the first Magic game. Now those 2 wins could be a massive difference. And let's bring up a couple things. First off, strength of schedule. Easiest strength of schedule in the NBA
With
rest
a
of the
bullet.
season.
With a bullet.
By far. We've been talking about it for a while. And even the next 4 games. Like what you got the Jazz,
Washington
you got 2 against
twice.
the Wizards, and then you got Philly. The Raps could be riding a 6-game win streak by the time we talk next week.
Here's like the most optimistic.
Just Fab's face says it all.
For sure.
Like,
The most optimistic of optimism. These teams that are at the bottom, you only need to be bottom 3. So you can say like, oh, maybe the Wiz, they'll start playing their guys proper because they're already guaranteed bottom 3 anyways. So let's get the guys the right reps that we need to develop in this spot and let them go nuts. That's
very optimistic.
That's the closest optimism.
Very
Otherwise,
optimistic.
it's about to hit the fan, man. It's really bad. This is a really rough stretch. Raps are going to win a lot of games they shouldn't be winning.
It's the darkest timeline right now, quite frankly. And we knew this was happening. Like, listen, man, I'll give credit to Josh Lewenberg, who said this was his greatest fear. He didn't
but that was
believe-
because of the Ingram trade.
I know, but he
But
also
that has nothing to do with
But
this.
he didn't believe the Raptors could tank and could do it right based on the schedule. That was his biggest argument, and it's been proven that even without Ingram, they have enough talent to beat teams like the sad Orlando Magic, who, by the way, like embarrassing.
Yeah,
on their
what a
part.
pathetic showing from Orlando.
The Orlando Magic should be ashamed of themselves.
Oh, yeah.
You dropped 2 at home to the Raptors? 2 at home to the Raptors.
Yeah.
And you're fighting for your playoff lives? And you have guys from the G League lighting you up in the last 2 minutes?
Back to Josh's point about like just the Raptors having too much talent. Sans Ingram, despite that point, like the Raptors are doing the right thing with Poeltl. They're not playing him late in these games. They're trying their best to do this like half, and it's just now with the schedule.
Just
like,
sit guys out. Just start sitting guys out.
Even if you do, right? Even if you do, there is a fear now that like you might be able to squeak out like 2 losses in the next 4.
So-
like I love how we're looking at
But
it the other way, but
okay.
that's not enough.
The Pelicans
You need to
are
lose a
also
lot more.
are also screwing this up. The Pelicans have been winning games lately.
Yeah.
The hope was like maybe they can get to the 4 spot, and then I think it gives you like a 48% chance of a top 4 pick.
That's right.
If you can get into the top 4.
Mm-hmm.
But now, like I know we said before, like Wes, you think they're going to be 7th worst record? Like
I mean, well, look, Philly and Brooklyn are 1 win ahead of them. Those teams are set to like go right to the bottom, so the Raps are set up to at least jump them. The worst case scenario is like, what if Chicago somehow just really falls apart? That's the worst.
Oh my
Yeah, let's make this very clear. If they end up like 7th or 8th, it's a disaster. It's a disaster. What was this year for? A few more wins? These wins don't matter. It's March.
Yeah.
It's fool's gold time in the NBA. The top seeds kind of don't even care about these games anymore. So don't talk yourself into like, oh, we had a great March. We can really build on that. No, you have to get the best pick possible. That's it. End of story. Yeah.
And anybody saying these wins matter, you're so mother effing short-sighted in thinking that way. Like, everything we're talking about is championship. Okay, first of all, quick back. You know how hard it is to win championships? The Raptors almost should have never even had that championship. So many things fell into place to make that happen. To get yourself to that level takes so much of things falling correctly into place. This is one of those steps. The Raps have to put themselves in the best position possible in the lottery, and they're about to mess that up.
And jumping off that too, like, Raptors, I think, came into this year with a little more optimism. They just got destroyed with injuries to start the season. Guys were in and out of the lineup. You found yourself in this spot by just bad luck, right? Once you do find yourselves here, maximize that. It's what they did the year they were in Tampa when they ended up with Scotty Barnes. And now he is a fixture, a pillar for the franchise going forward. You are finding yourself in the exact same spot. Do the right thing, and you can go full 100% towards that thing, that one goal.
To your point, I know some people say, well, it's all a lottery anyway. Nothing's guaranteed. Like, you guys don't get well, you still have to maximize your odds.
Give yourself the best chance in the lottery.
12.5% chance of getting Cooper Flag is better than 5%.
Yes. Yeah.
So you have to maximize those odds as best as you can. And even then, like, once you get out of the top 4 and 5, it starts declining
it falls
quickly.
off a cliff,
And the difference between 8 and 5 could be a franchise player.
Boom. So like you said, you can quantify the difference, 12% to 5%. Quantify for me what 2 extra wins versus the Magic is worth to the long-term benefit.
Vibes.
Well, hold on.
Quantify
but
that
especially
for me. You
when
got nothing.
The people who are on the court for these wins are not a part of your future whatsoever. Like Jacoby Walter, sure. But like those two-way guys, like that's not your core.
But the point is, players are interchangeable.
Yeah.
So that's why you can't blame them for caring about their own game and trying to win. But at the
They
same
want their
time,
next contract,
you
of
don't know
course.
what's best for the franchise. RJ Barrett might not be here next year.
Yeah.
Quickly might not be here next year. So I'm glad they want to win, but like that's not what's best for the Toronto Raptors.
Okay, so I think
Tough.
we got about 10 minutes left in the podcast. I think we should all head to the bench and just
I think it's about that time.
let's
you're in,
Riz,
bro.
you're
You're
in.
in.
Like,
Let's go.
sorry, wow, that's an insult. Riz, you're more than a two-way player. You would be the Jacoby Walter of the bench people who are coming in here. Energy, aluminum, lumber. Aren't they all great? But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is this country's greatest export, and if you try to put a tariff on his MVP votes, we're gonna riot. We're gonna riot. Shai coming off a 50 burger.
You're proud of yourself.
You challenged me. You challenged me to get creative.
That was pretty good.
Lumber.
That's pretty
Lumber. Shai's 4th 50-point game since, I think, January 22nd. And just, I was looking at the numbers today. Since that day, and it's not even that far off from his MVP numbers, but like 35 a game, just the percentages are insane. We know he's the clear MVP, but like he needs to be celebrated more. And what we saw the other night in that 50-point game was just like doing it so many different ways. It's just beautiful to watch.
Yeah, he is the MVP. You're going to get blog boys looking at like the Jokic stat lines, which again, he's putting up career numbers, and I get it, but we've been harping on this for a while. There's fatigue with Jokic, and his team is not as good as the Thunder. And the point that's completely undermined with the Thunder is that Shai was doing this without Chet Holmgren for most of the year, and that's barely mentioned.
I agree.
When we discuss this.
When the American media, mainstream media talks about Shai's case, they just conveniently leave out the fact that Hartenstein has missed a ton of games. Chet's missed a ton of games. And they mention that Aaron Gordon has been out for Denver. That's fine.
He ain't on that level.
But I'm just saying, like, you have to mention the fact that, like, OKC is first with a bullet in the West. Like, it's not even close. They're going to be clinched within the next couple weeks at this point because like, it's double-digit games. How can you not reward the guy who's leading the league in scoring? Most 20-point games, most 30-point games, most 40-point games, most 50-point games. And it's efficient, and he makes everyone else better. And he plays defense.
Here's my question. Is it the fact that he's Canadian, or is it style? Is it that he doesn't have a sexy style? No, but
I think he's.
yes, for sure.
His game is
we're not the general public, right?
He's not a high flyer, but
That's
he's
the thing.
Yeah.
It's just methodical. He will basically find a matchup and he will just sort of manipulate you, and he can do so many different things. We as ball fans love that, but the general public, I don't know if they can associate the eye test to it. Is it that, or is it that he's Canadian?
Well, I mean, look, listen, man. Highlight reels. That's how a lot of people get their information. They read box scores, and that's how
LaMelo Ball is a problem.
Yeah, okay, LaMelo Ball, bro. But they read the box score, and that's all they know. But if you actually watch the game, his impact on winning, it's not as easy to quantify if you're trying to watch it in a 10-second snippet, right, on Instagram, like most people are getting their information anyways. So the thing about SGA's case that I love the most is two-part. You talk about the 50-point games. I don't even think those performances is where I really think his case stands out. That loss to Minnesota is, to me, where his MVP case really matters for the greater good of his, his.
I like this take.
The take is that, look,
ISO ball.
he's the best player on this team. OKC defensively, okay? The five guys they have on the court, they're literally unstoppable defense. So he's part of that. But on offense, look at how everything fell apart in a game they wanted to and needed to win. 0 for 8 from the other 4 guys when they had a 4-on-3, whatever situation they had. Missed 2 layups, missed like 4 corners. Wide open corner threes, a 16-point. They couldn't even put up a single point in a 4-minute span. And it's just because they decided, we're just going to take the ball out of SGA's hands. That is what makes him so valuable to this team, because defensively, like, he's part of their defense too. It's not just like he's a sieve on defense. Defensively, that's what makes them great. But on offense, they rely on him, and that's it.
Yeah, and it's 2 other things too. So the flip side of that is that Jamal Murray has been really good since December. So this whole Jokic doesn't have a running mate thing, I think that falls flat this season.
What a moment for Canadian ball. Zach Edey has also been playing awesome.
Yeah, like great. So it's like you have that part, and it's also that like Jokic's defense has been pretty bad, and I don't care what the defensive analytics and metrics
you
say.
can't really get anything off.
That's not real. Watch the games. Like, his rim protection is poor, to say the least. He gets his hands on ball. He's very handsy, so he has that. He's super smart, but he's not defending the rim. His defense has fallen off a cliff. Whereas Shai is not one of the best defender on the Thunder, but he's really, really good at the stuff they ask him to do defensively, while also carrying the team on his back on offense. And to your point, that's my fear with OKC come playoff time, is that you can probably scheme Shai out of a game, send him extra bodies. You need other guys to step up. So I agree. I think the markets reflect that Shai is obviously the heavy favorite and should remain that and should win the award.
Do you agree? I know we talked a bit about this last week, but like the Thunder being minus money to win the West, because to Wes's point, what you just said, that will worry me a bit when you can just be like, we just need to take him out and let everybody else beat us. Yeah. Like, what do you think, Fab? Like, minus 140 seems a little crazy.
Stay away right now.
Yeah,
for sure.
Minus money. Listen, granted, they've been number 1 with a bullet, but it's the regular season. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win in the playoffs.
For sure, though.
So I think we just need to see it with them. I'm not writing them off. I'm not saying like they can't beat these other teams, but we haven't seen them win. We haven't seen them get to the conference finals. They may very well do that, but my thing is you always have to look at the matchups in the bracket. Sure. Are the Warriors in the round 1 against them? When are they playing the Lakers? When are they playing the Nuggets? Like, you got to see how the cookie crumbles, right? Then I think you go series to series, but minus money to lay that's just a nuts bet to make right now.
But like, back to the MVP, I mean, historically, every time there's been a team in a regular season that's like best player on best team, a team that's been like on historical levels, it's basically happened 100% of the time. Don't look now. OKC is on pace to have the best net rating of all time.
Yeah, except the one year I bet James Harden to win the MVP and Russell Westbrook wins 45 wins.
Triple-double.
Yeah, so my point I'm trying to make
Westbrook's
here,
a problem.
Point being here is if that's the formula for how MVP is given out in past, using past precedent, OKC is set up to be one of the best regular season teams of all time. The best player is SGA, like without a bullet.
And he plays games. He doesn't sit.
Yeah.
Like, he plays games. And he just goes about his business. Like, yeah, I think to me a lot of it's to do with
Jokic
like him
plays
playing.
games too.
The boy's got aura too, man.
He got aura.
He's got aura. He's got style.
He just plays for the Thunder. That's gonna be the only detriment, really. Like,
let's project things about 3 years into the future, and maybe it's because I'm watching the Olympic doc currently, which is amazing, by the way.
Yeah.
A starting 5 where you have so first of all, Shea, Murray, and I think Edie as a starting center. Like, let's just look at a Canada basketball starting five, and like how real. Like, I don't know, man. This is a team that can medal at a next Olympics. If Murray and Shea are playing at this level,
I thought they should have medaled in the last
should have
Olympics.
already.
Yeah.
well, they got bad luck with the draw with getting France in the
The tough group basically made it not possible for them to get one of those top 2 seeds, which is important. But their lack of size got exposed. So you think if you're projecting next
Edie, man, get Edie in there.
I mean, Murray's going to be a bit older at that point. We'll see where he's at. Shea should be in his prime. Hopefully, some of these younger guys.
RJ will be in a bit of a prime. Sorry.
Hopefully some of these guys, like Mathurin, Shaden Sharp. Hopefully they're
Mathurin starting over RJ wouldn't surprise
hopefully
me.
they're better in a few years. But yeah, they'll be in the mix as long as you have a prime Shea and the decent pieces around him.
Yeah, like who knows? All I know is that I'm going to feel comfort as a fan of Canada basketball when Shea has the ball in his hands and we need a bucket late.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing that I think he brings to not only the Thunder but to Team Canada and for us. Like obviously we're going to be behind this guy. I think even like TSN, Canadian media is putting a push behind him too. Like I think they're witnessing what's kind of happening here, and it's special. It's special for this country, and I think he is the MVP with a bullet. Do not let these American chooches doubt that.
I feel like come once we get to playoffs, then the buzz will start. That's when the American markets, I think, will recognize what he is, because it'll be like, oh, this guy's the MVP. Oh, and now he's on his way to a conference finals.
Hey, listen,
that's where I think the buzz will start to pick
and
up.
the last
more.
Bontemps straw poll had him as the favorite. So, like, it's trending in that direction, but people will look to Jokic's numbers and say, oh, he's putting up career highs.
just give
He won
Jokic
MVPs
clutch.
with less.
Well, wait until the LeBron narrative starts.
Hey, hold on. First of all,
Hold on. You heard it here first. I don't want to get into it, but you heard it here. Within the next 2 weeks, there's going to be, LeBron James playing great basketball right now. Maybe he should be the MVP.
Amazing
I'm just going to say,
basketball.
I feel personally attacked because I said that sentence this morning too, Fab. I'm not saying LeBron deserves the MVP. I'm just saying LeBron deserves to be in that conversation. The Lakers are a 2 seed right now.
That's fine.
And like,
I don't want to. I don't want to
Ahead
do
of
the
the
whole thing
Nuggets.
on this right now. Let's
but like, dude, like, come on.
Why not?
Yeah, wait.
I mean,
what better
he can
platform?
He can be in all the tier 2 conversations he wants.
Yeah.
Tier 1 is without a doubt it's a 2.
Some people might
Shea
be
Gilgeous.
being like, well, how does LeBron not have? And like the Derrick Rose MVP.
People are gonna look at that one he lost to Rose and be like, you know what?
We just-
40-year-old LeBron deserves it, man.
Please don't.
I'm also surprised you didn't mention maple syrup in some of our greatest exports.
I was more on brand. I don't. When looking at the news cycle, maple syrup, flannel, and mousses. I guess moose. That's hard to say. Plural. Meese? No, it's moose. Moose. Yeah.
Moosai.
Moose.
I was hearing.
All right, that's enough. Thanks for watching. Catch us on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts.
Come for the basketball, stay for the geopolitics.